You guys have awesome signs. Can you hear me? All right. Listen, it's been 1 year since this ark opened, which is about 14 seconds in creationist time. So let us congratulate Ken Ham on his 14-second anniversary. And I think it's fair to ask a simple question. Was that worth it? Was it worth it? Because even on Ken Ham's terms, the answer is no. And just look to the acceptance of young earth creationism. A Gallup poll from this past May said that acceptance of evolution without God playing any role in the process is higher today than it's ever been. And people who believe we were created a few thousand years ago, lower than ever before. Now, here's the bad news about that. The acceptance of godless evolution is at 19%. Acceptance of young earth creationism is at 38%. So we have a long way to go. But we're moving in the right direction. Was the ark worth it for the community? No, and that's worth talking about in some detail. Because, look, there are people here, you just heard from Chuck, who can do an incredible job of telling you why the contents of the ark and everything inside of the Creation Museum are complete nonsense. And I'm glad those voices are speaking out. We need to hear them out, because there is a lot of disturbing material inside. But I thought it would be more useful today to tell you about the problems we've seen outside the ark. Because Ken Ham and Answers in Genesis have created a lot of problems for people in this community. They've lied, they've broken promises, they've asked for favors and given virtually nothing back in return. If you were dating Ark Encounter, you would have broken up a long time ago. So, for example, this park was built here because Grant County sold 98 acres of land to Ark Encounter for a grand total of $1. As Phil mentioned earlier, that's a lot of money on the table that the county did not receive. The city of Williamstown gave Ark Encounter a $62 million interest-free loan and a 75% break in property taxes over the next 30 years. Whatever money would normally be going back into the community is instead going back to Ken Ham to help him pay off his loans here. Every employee who works at Ark Encounter pays a 2% job assessment fee on their gross wages. That means $2 out of every 100 pre-tax dollars they make goes to helping Ken Ham pay off the park instead of back into their pockets and then back into the community. The state of Kentucky, as I know you're all well aware, is giving Ark Encounter a 25% break in sales taxes over the next 10 years, worth over $18 million, or at least up to that. That means 25% of all the taxes they're collecting on tickets, souvenirs, and food will be going back to the Ark, not the state, not the taxpayers of Kentucky, over the next decade. And all of this is happening even as Ken Ham has said multiple times that no money will be taken out of the state budget to fund the Ark. This is money that should be going to the taxpayers of Kentucky. Ark Encounter promised that they would create so many jobs for the people of Grant County in order to get all these perks. What they didn't say when they made that promise was that those jobs would only be available if you agreed to the following things: that the world was created a few thousand years ago, that Adam and Eve were actual, literal, real people, that gay people don't have legitimate marriages, and that being offensive is, quote, sinful and offensive to God. Not only were Jews and atheists and Hindus and Muslims shut out of these jobs, Christians who respect science and have a tolerant heart couldn't get a job there either. Ark Encounter has offered public schools a sweetheart deal to even bring kids to this place. It would cost $1 per student, and adults can get in free. As a former teacher myself, that is tough to pass up. What Ark Encounter won't tell you is that they won't pay for the inevitable lawsuit you will eventually lose if you bring your students to the Christian ministry. And by the way, $1 admission fee is still a $1 too much. And by the way, just in the past few weeks, Ark Encounter has tried to get out of paying a 50-cent per ticket safety fee to the city of Williamstown. And that would go to help the city upgrade its emergency response equipment, because they say they're a religious ministry, so they don't have to pay it. That's approximately $700,000 that the city wouldn't be getting for safety equipment because Ark Encounter can't decide if it's a for-profit ark or a non-profit ministry. They said they were for-profit when they were getting all these perks. As one internet commenter put it, Ken Ham loves his pork. But let's step outside the Ark too. Has the Ark been good for the local economy? The reason for all these sweet deals was that it was supposed to help the businesses in the area. Has it? No. The hotels are not sold out. You can get a seat in any restaurant you want to go to around here. I mean, it's so bad that Grant County residents recently turned this from a moist town with limited alcohol sales to a wet town where most restaurants could get an alcohol permit. And it still didn't help. Listen, if alcohol doesn't make this place more appealing, nothing will. And let me quote for you Steve Wood, a Grant County judge executive who is also a Republican. He said, quote, "I was one of those believers that once the Ark was here, everything was going to come in, but it's not done it. It's not done it. I think the Ark's done well, and I'm glad for them on that, but it's not done us any good at all." And why haven't things gotten better? In part, it's because Answers in Genesis has overpromised and underdelivered with attendance. In 2014, Ken Ham said Ark Encounter would bring in 2 million visitors a year. Last month, he said it'd be closer to 1.1 million. It's a bit of a drop there. Look, I know Answers in Genesis and Ark Encounter and Ken Ham. I know they have a habit of taking numbers and then lowering them beyond belief. But it's just sad when you spend about $100 million and you can barely crack 1 million people. And you would think, the first year for an attraction like this would be incredible. Think about all the press they've received, locally, nationally, internationally. Think about all the people who heard about this Ark for years who have now had a full year to see it for themselves. Why would next year be better, as Ham likes to put it? The diehards have already seen it. We've seen their buses going already. We've already mocked it. The press has nothing new to write about. The exhibits aren't changing because creationism doesn't improve. The information is just plain wrong. The cost to get in is obscenely high. It's $136 for a family of 4, and that's without tax and without the parking money. And this isn't the sort of museum where you learn more on repeat visits. Listen, Ken Ham is the Joe Camel of creationism. He wants to lure in kids and get them hooked on his brand of BS. He sells all sorts of products designed to mess with your mind. He ignores the evidence he doesn't like. He's bad for you, and we need to tell people to quit the habit. To quote the liberal redneck, Trey Crowder, they didn't need to waste $100 million on this Ark, because for $100, I'll take you to a cow pasture, you could smell the BS, and we'll call it a day. Thank you so much for being here, and let's go march.